What's up guys, it's me Jeremy. If you're fairly new to support, the summoner spell Exhaust can be a pretty tricky tool to make use of optimally, as well as it can really stunt you up if you don't outplay it properly. So here are my tips and tricks for how to use Exhaust as well as how to play against it. Let's get started. So as far as using Exhaust goes, there's three major ways. The first and by far most efficient way is to use it as a damage reduction tool. You exhaust your opponent when they throw out a major damage ability and really eliminate the power of their kit. And the key to doing this is that all major burst damage comes from abilities which have a cast time, while Exhaust is instant. In addition, damage gets calculated when the ability lands, not when it's thrown out, so you can exhaust a target while their ability is still in the air, and you can reduce their entire burst damage combo. This is definitely the best way to use Exhaust, to deny burst damage opportunities. And the key to doing this properly is not to just react quickly, as that's actually really difficult, but to predict the burst ahead of time and exhaust as soon as you see your opponent go for it. You can also use Exhaust as a sort of disable on an opponent. When someone jumps in or if they're trying to heavily auto attack, remember Exhaust does slow attack speed and movement speed by 30% as well as reducing damage by 40%. Exhausting someone when they dive in on you is not only almost as good of a way to use Exhaust, it's also extremely easy. When your opponent dives in, you can just hit that Exhaust on them. Make sure you do it before they get most of their abilities off and not after, of course, but either way it does a great job of crowd controlling them as well as preventing their disengage, leaving them extremely vulnerable. And the last way to use Exhaust, and definitely the least efficient way, and most of the time you really shouldn't do it, is to simply just use it for the extra crowd control. When chasing or disengaging, you can use it to slow the opponent and to prevent them from catching you, or to help you catch up, as well as using it for the 10 armor and MR reduction can help your burst combos by a reasonable amount, so you can use it when jumping in on targets, but that usually isn't the best idea since you want to use Exhaust as a defensive spell, not an offensive spell, since it is mostly defense oriented. And above all else, make sure that you are exhausting high DPS targets or targets that are really sticking onto your carries. It should be used defensively and to the greatest efficiency whenever possible to deny burst damage combos and disable opponents. And make sure that you aren't comboing it with other crowd control. You want to chain it, meaning that you don't use it at the same time. And don't use it after a burst damage champion has gotten all of their burst out too. Wait for their cooldowns to come up and then exhaust them. Now for playing against Exhaust, when you get exhausted, it's the best time and honestly really efficient to use your abilities that do not suffer while you are exhausted, which is mainly to use your utility. Crowd controlling opponents, using defensive abilities, things like that are great uses of the time while you are exhausted, as well as saving your mobility spells until you get exhausted is a great way to kite out for the entire duration. Just make sure that you aren't using your burst damage spells while exhausted. Try to slow roll them, as players are almost always going to preemptively exhaust you in fights anyways. And that just about covers my tips. My name is Jeremy and that's it for my video on Exhaust. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button so I can tell, and be sure to check me out over on all the socials, of which you can see on your screen. And if you really enjoyed the video, make sure to subscribe for some more awesome content in the future, or check out some of my other videos on your screen as well. And above all else, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.